right, we are rolling.
What's up, everybody? Jared James here, and welcome to this episode. We have we got not a ton to cover, but we've got some important stuff to cover. So, as always, Tom, the producer, is back there. What's going on, Tom?
Hello, I'm
How you
here.
doing, man? While we figure out this whole studio thing, little by little, I'm sure the picture's going to get better and better each week, and whatever. So we'll probably have different items back here, on the bookshelf. As we go along. You know what was really cool was that this little microphone holder. So I'm impossible. For those of you listening, you can't see it, but there's a Jared James microphone at the microphone, I don't know what you call it, box at the bottom of the mic. I'm impossible to get gifts for, impossible. It's just I'm a grown man. If I need something, I have it. You know what I mean? The best thing to get for me is if gift cards to places I go, gift cards to Starbucks, gift cards to where I take my kids for dinner, gift cards where I might take Linda, because then it's oh my God, it's you're actually taking care of something that I'm going to go and do anyway. And it's just something great about that when you get to experience something and not pay for it. But as far as buying something that I need, I'm very difficult. It's just, I've got everything I need. And with Amazon now, you really recognize the need and you just get it, Is that abnormal, or do you?
No, I feel like my parents are also really difficult to shop for. So yeah, I think that's just kind of an older person thing. That's not what I meant to say, but that's just what happened.
This just took a turn, Tom.
That's just what came out. That's not what I meant to say at all.
The silence you hear is the steam coming out of my ears because Tom just compared me to the olders. That's a common thing with the olders, I think is what he was trying to say.
Yep.
Wow. God, where do I even go from there?
I think we just wrap it up.
Yeah. God. No, I don't even remember where I was going with all this now. But the microphone. So anyway, so for those of you watching, it turned out all of a sudden we were putting this whole thing together. Someone was like, "Oh, you could finally use that," and so now it's an amazing gift because I can actually use it now. So it makes me very happy to see that. But anyway, we have a lot to cover today, guys. I mean, a lot. I am a couple days. I don't know when you're listening to this, but I'm a couple days from heading out to Las Vegas for our social mastermind, which should be an absolute blast in Las Vegas. So I'm looking forward to that. I got a lot of notes on that, but like always with those masterminds, they always take a turn to a place that you didn't expect because of the questions people ask and everything. Prior to Tom's insensitive comments, he was coming with me to Vegas, to do this, but
not in the company anymore.
Tom, he may go the way of Hoffa. You may never find him. Okay. We may bury him and no one will ever know. I do live on a lake, and this is where you go, pond.
Yeah, pond.
Yep. So there is a way to get rid of the body, Tom. I'm just saying. Okay.
I understand.
So we're heading off to Vegas to go do that, which I'm looking forward to. That's such a cool thing for me because it is, when you get to a certain place where your teaching is either done in the format of online where it goes out to thousands of people, but you don't really get to interact. It's also limited on time. When you start doing events in front of masses of crowds, there's only so much you can cover and you don't really see the results from them. Even in a coaching program, you have coaches that are doing coaching and, all that kind of stuff. And so what's really cool for me is when you do the mastermind, it's like bringing it back to a room where you see everybody and they're asking you questions and now you get to operate, And it's oh no, this is what I do well. This is what I do. I like to operate. I like to, And so I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a really exciting thing, and whether we continue to do it over and over again, I'm not really sure yet. We're going to see how it goes. I think it's the fact that it's sold out is really exciting, and that means there's a demand for that, so that's fantastic. So I think it's going to be great. Now, some stuff has happened this past week that I've done some shorter videos on, but I think that needs to be covered in a longer format, and it's been some important stuff. At the time of shooting this, I'm not sure when this will go live, but we are 3 days from the August 17th deadline in our industry where the rules from the NAR settlement will come out. And it's so interesting because everybody's really, kind of locked in on that date. But the changes have already been made in almost everywhere. Nobody's waiting till August 17th. Not to mention August 17th is a Saturday. So nobody's doing that. The changes have already been there. And by the way, the changes are not done, okay? And you get all these people now who are just, they just want to know, what do you say to buyers? What do you say to sellers? What do you say to, and it's just all this kind of stuff. And I think a lot of that's going to change. We're going to pivot with all the changes that happen in the industry. And I just think I don't think the dust is settled yet, if I'm just being honest. I don't believe the dust is settled yet. So I'm watching and, whatever, and, seeing what's going to happen, broker to broker, non, whatever. I can already see the writing on the wall of where things are going, but as far as the exact scripts and dialogues and stuff, I think that's a moving process, and I think that agents need to remember that post August 17th, on August 18th, homes are going to sell, and at the end of the day, it's still a matter of, are you on that contract or not? That's an important thing for people to remember. Don't get so caught up in all of the minutia of, do I say this, do I say that, how's this going to work, how's that going to work, and forget that, the idea that houses are selling, it's just a matter of whether you're on them, and I think the good ones, we're going to pivot, we're going to adjust, but to try to put the pressure on understanding exactly what those pivots and adjustments are on August 14th, I don't think that's reality. Be willing to change, be willing to adjust, pay attention, listen to voices like mine and others, and I think you're going to be just fine. But we are seeing some major stuff happening in the industry, and it's forced me to ask some questions that I don't even feel comfortable asking. I don't like asking them. It's forcing me to look at things in a way that I haven't wanted to, that I don't want to. We just saw, for example, 3 realtors in Michigan just sued NAR. Think about that. So you had the antitrust lawsuit that came from out of Missouri, but now you have an antitrust lawsuit from 3 realtors in Michigan. And we saw this coming, guys. I mean, like literally, I said this months ago. I said it's coming. You're going to start getting people that are going to now sue NAR. And their whole point is that they don't want to be a member of NAR, and yet they're forced to. Meaning, in order to be a part of their local MLS or their local board or their, whatever it is, they have to join NAR whether they want to or not. And I'm so split on this, guys, because I do not believe you should have to. There's a thing called tying, otherwise known as tie-in. It was a law, it was a ruling that happened in 1992 that says you cannot tie one product to another and force membership. And that's basically what they're saying. They're saying antitrust, it's non-competition, it's non-open market, that why would I as an agent, in order to have access to local data to help my clients, why would I have to be a part of your organization, whether I want to be or not, whether I think there's value or not? That's not the free market. And so I understand. I completely get it. And by the way, I agree with that. I think that there's a lot of intertwining that happens, that you have to be a part of an MLS in order to be a part of this board, in order to be a part of this whatever. They should not be hooked together. It's interesting because when you look at most trade organizations, you look at the legal field, attorneys, all these different things, usually it's about 10 to 13% of their membership is a member of the major, association. In real estate, it's almost 90%. And that's not an accident. That's because you're forced to. Now, do I think NAR is a force for good? I'm hoping moving forward. I'm asking tough questions because of that. But do I think people shouldn't have choice? No, by the way, I root for NAR. I've got a lot of friends that work there. I've got, but it doesn't mean that I don't believe in free will and free choice. I'm an open market guy. If you guys watch any of my stuff, if you listen to the theories behind the things I believe, guys, I'm capitalism, open market, make your own mind. The government doesn't control everything. You shouldn't be forced to do things. If you want to do them, you should. If you don't have to, you don't have. You don't want to, you don't have to. And so I'm not really for that. And so I understand the argument behind this lawsuit. Hey everyone, I want to take a moment and talk to you about a really cool company called Privy. If you were listening to this episode or even moving forward here, you're going to notice that I'm going to talk a lot about investors and how I think this is a huge part of the market that if you're growing a real estate business, we're not paying enough attention to. I'm a big believer here that sometimes to grow your business, you don't just have to pick up a piece of the pie that's already there. Sometimes you have to go to a completely different pie. And it's so interesting because when you look at it, you look at all the data and you see that, 26, 27%, almost 30% of all residential transactions in the last 12 months were investors, right? They were investors. And when I was an agent, a ton of the business that I did were investors. And so a lot of you hear that and you're like, oh, it's institutional investors. It's Do you know institutional investors only make up about less than 3% of the overall market? And that's actually going down for the first time in years, which means that we have this huge number of people who are buying and selling properties all of the time, right under our nose, thousands of transactions. They're going to happen regardless. The only question is, are they happening with you? And that's the key thing that I want you to understand. And so when you look at Privy and what they do, they make you the go-to person to work with when it comes to finding investments, when it comes to finding out what a good deal is, when it comes to finding out what the right neighborhoods are, what the wrong neighborhoods are, what previous people had did, all at the touch of a button, right? And so all of a sudden, it's funny, I look at their stuff and I'm like, I worked with all these investors when I was selling real estate, and I'm like, how did I do this without this kind of a tool? And you don't have to do that. Now these kinds of tools are there. And so you're going to hear me in the future talking a lot about working with investors and what that looks like. And like I've said over and over again, it is my job to not only tell you what the problems are and what the solutions are, but ultimately to give you the tools that you need so that you can be the go-to source for something like that. And man, are these people worth a lot of money to you. So do yourself a favor, guys. Go to privy.pro. That's privy.pro. Amazing tool. You can ask us questions. There's more things even coming down the road with them that are just going to blow you away. But this is a tool you need in your business, especially for what it costs. It's not a cost, though. It's an investment, but it's well worth it. Let's start getting those investors. And it was interesting because I posted it on my Instagram, my Facebook, and TikTok, and all these different places, and there are thousands of comments. And it's funny because you get kind of a pulse on the industry, and the industry is ticked. I mean, thousands of agents are going, down with them. Like, it's ridiculous. I have to sign up. It's ridiculous. I have to be a member. And, so for me, it's not about having an opinion either way. It's about really putting my finger on the pulse of this is how people feel. And so that has been very interesting. But there is another way to look at this too, which, I'm very zoom out and look at the situation and non-emotional. Even if in my videos I seem emotional, that's because that's what you have to do on a video. Nobody wants to listen to Ben Stein from the Wonder Years do a Instagram reel, some big topic that's really important, and then go, hello, everybody, won't you be my neighbor? That's not going to get a lot of views, so you need to come at it with the fire, okay? You got to come at it with a point of view, you got to have a video voice. And so one of the comments on there, which was really interesting, my buddy Peter from Australia, and he made a good point. He said, you got to be careful you start suing your own organization. He's like, that's when the government gets involved. And he goes, that's what we did in Australia, and now it sucks. The government runs everything. And if there's one thing I know about the government, guys, once they get power, they don't give it up. They don't let it go, okay? I.e., 15 days to flatten the curve, which is laughable now. It's funny. I said to a friend of mine once, he lived in San Diego. We were walking down the beach in San Diego, and this was such a just a poignant point, so to say, and it's just so true. We're walking down the boardwalk in San Diego, and there was a big sign up with a bunch of rules on the sign of what you can't do on the beach. And it seemed ridiculous to me. I'm like, what is this? You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do whatever. You can't, and I looked at him and I said, when was the last time they took a rule off that board? When was the last time they took a rule off that board, off that sign? Never. He goes, they just keep adding to it. They just keep making it bigger. And to me, that's a microcosm of government. That was local government, but that was they never they never pull back. It's always take space, set up, take space, set up, take space. And so his point was a good one. He was saying, hey, we did this in Australia, and now they control everything, and it's bad. And I hadn't really considered that point of view, and I started thinking about it, and I'm like, shoot, didn't even think about that. Because while I think it's within these people's right to sue their own organization, and I actually think they have a point, it's, why are you forced? I think there's some value, and I think that NAR needs to pivot and figure out what their value is going forward, but you're forced? That doesn't seem to make sense. I don't know that I'm on board with that. And so it's going to be interesting moving forward, because I think you're going to get a lot of copycat lawsuits. It's going to be interesting to see where they go. And will it come to a point where a judge rules and says NAR membership is not required? And what's that going to do to NAR membership? That's going to be interesting, okay? Because when they say, oh, NAR membership is optional, but then your brand, you can't be a part of the brand without being a member. You can't be a part of a local board. You can't be a part of a brokerage. You can't be a part of the MLS. You can't be a part of, it's like, is it really my choice? You know, like, it doesn't seem to really be my choice, okay? It's like, you can leave your hand here if you want, but we're going to put an axe down on the table and cut off anything, whatever. But you can leave it there if you want. It's like, well, I choose, I guess, to move my hand. You know, it's like, no, you're being forced here. And so that is going to be interesting. And it brings up, you know, some interesting points. Because I did another video this week, and it was about this same kind of a concept, but Colorado, their regulators came out, and they decided that buyer agency agreements, they do not need to, the agents in Colorado do not need to follow that part of the settlement. And they determined that one of the brokerages, you know, core offerings is not showing a house, and therefore it doesn't apply. They also decided that it was not in the best benefit of the buyer to have to sign agreements with someone they don't know, don't have a relationship with, and they cited a ton of complaints from buyers saying they felt like they were coerced and forced into contracts with people they don't want to be with contracts with, that they don't know, don't have a relationship with, and, you know, don't feel comfortable with, but it was the only way they could see a house. And so the regulators in Colorado sent a letter from the commission to the association and said, hey, we're not requiring this. And it was a major step because that's one state out of 50. And NAR responded to that and basically said, hey, local state laws trump any settlement by us. So whatever they say locally, whatever, the settlement doesn't trump that. And so it's super interesting because all of a sudden I started thinking, and I'm like, so why aren't the other 49 states regulators just coming out and saying the exact same thing? And then the way my head works, my mind started working, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, I think what most people don't understand is when it comes to this settlement and everything, the settlement doesn't apply to all people who sell real estate. And I think this is where like NAR doesn't understand that people don't know the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent. You know, I said this to you the other day, Tom. Like, did you ever know the difference? Didn't you just think everybody was realtors?
Yeah, 100%.
And so, you know, NAR spent millions and millions of dollars trying to educate the consumer on the difference between a realtor and just a regular real estate agent, and nobody knows. Other than the people in our industry knows that means you're a dues-paying member, part of an MLS, the whole thing. Consumers don't know. They have no idea. And so I started thinking about this, and I'm realizing that the settlement, you know, that goes into effect on August 17th only applies to NAR dues-paying members that are a part of an MLS. Like, that's all. It does not apply to regular, everyday real estate agent. So then I started thinking, because, you know, we have to really start making decisions from the place of the consumer. The consumer. What do they want? I try to put myself in that position. And I started thinking about this, and I'm going, if I'm a consumer and I go to look at a house and I'm in the same marketplace, same whatever, and I call two agents, and one agent is a real estate agent, not a realtor, and says, yeah, I'll show you the house, no problem. No agreement needed. Doesn't even bring it up. And another agent I call, who's a longtime agent, professional, but they're a realtor. They're a dues-paying realtor. And they say, I can't show you that house unless you sign a contract with me. I can tell you all day which one I'm going with. There's no way I'm going and signing with the other person. Like, there's just no way. It doesn't make sense. I'd be like, yeah, less friction. I just want to see the house. And so you see that start to happen, and it starts to beg the question, with these rules happening, did it just become a disadvantage to be a member of NAR? And I take no joy in asking that question, because I want them to do well. I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for the industry. But my head also works the way it does, and I start to put that together, and as a consumer, I don't know the difference. I would definitely go. It has nothing to do with them being a realtor or not a realtor. I would go with the person with the less friction. Show me the house. That's all I care about. And so these are real issues that now NAR needs to figure out. And as an industry, we need to figure out, because we can't have a world where there's an advantage to not being a realtor and then tell people they have to be a realtor. You know, if you want local MLS data, you have to decide to cause friction between the potential of you working with a buyer compared to someone else who doesn't have that exact same friction. That does not make sense. And yet you have an organization that spent upwards of $50 million to try and convince the public of what the difference is between a realtor and a real estate agent. And I would guess less than 5% know the difference. And I think I'm being super kind. It's probably even less than that. And so these are real questions we have to start asking. And we need to remember that when we hear me asking these kinds of questions, we only ask these kinds of questions. We only call for this kind of accountability out of love. My sons, when they do something wrong or they do, I don't question, people that I don't care about. I don't question things I don't care about. When I see my sons do something wrong, or when I'm not sure about something with my sons, or I'm not whatever, and I bring them in and I question them, why'd you do that? What was the point of that? It is in an effort. It's out of love. It's in an effort for them to get better, for them to be great adults, to help their decision making, to make sure that it's out of love. That accountability is out of love. And I think there's been this misnomer lately that I'm anti-NAR, which I'm not. I know most of the people at NAR, and I want them to do well. I'm an advocate for them doing well. And when I'm asking these questions, when I'm putting up YouTube videos that say, is there a disadvantage to being, a member of NAR? I'm doing, whatever. That comes from a place of, let's ask these tough questions. Let's hold each other accountable so that when you're in those meetings trying to figure out what is our value to agents, what is our value to members, that you remember people like me who have thousands of people commenting on their videos who are ready with pitchforks, and we say, how do we get better for them? That's really all it is for me in an effort for the industry to get better. I think the industry is better moving forward with an NAR if they pivot, just like we're expecting agents and brokers to pivot and do better and get better and figure this stuff out. I don't think it's crazy to say we need the same thing of the largest trade organization in the U.S., at least top two, that we're forced to be members of, is we need you to get better. We need to know we need you to tell us what is the value. What's the value now? Don't tell me code of ethics. God, that's always the answer. People go, code of ethics. People who aren't realtors don't have to follow code of ethics. It doesn't take a dues-paying member to have ethics, okay? And nobody even understands the difference between those two. So please come at me with something practical. And if you don't know what it is yet, well, then it's a good question to ask, so that we can start working on what can you now offer that gives real value. About an amazing real estate tool right now called Mosaik. If you want to take your people off of the portals where they're all hanging out and whatever and into your ecosystem, this is the tool that does that. This is a beginning to end, not a CR. It's not another CRM. It doesn't replace that, but it's a beginning to end system that really looks at the lifetime value of your client and looks at every part of that process and takes care of all of it in a way that's completely transparent. So yes, they've got search, they've got transaction coordination, they've got, even for us when we do things like we teach our students the Core 100. They've got the ability to put those people in there, track what's happening, do all of that in an amazing way. But probably the thing that I love about this more than anything is the transparency. In an industry that keeps talking about transparency, and usually when you hear something over and over again, it means that it's not being done at all. This is actually a transparent tool. This is the first tool that I've seen that actually brings the consumer into the transaction. And I think that is the next level of where we are going within this industry. You hear from so many buyers and sellers that, oh, my agent didn't do anything, or I feel like they're not, and there's not this communication going on. This is the first tool I've seen, almost like the early days of .loop where you had that collaboration, but it was just for the document and the signature. They can do that with the transaction now, not only with the clients, but with the vendors, whoever it is, in an amazing way where they can see every step of what's going on. You can write notes to them back and forth. They can see every part of the paperwork and everything and the way that you decide to show it. It's really the next level of what we need to be doing from a consumer experience perspective, so they know what's happening, and more importantly, we drive that lifetime value back to you. So if you haven't yet, guys, this is a tool you're going to hear over and over again. You're going to hear me talk about it because I really think it's my role to not just define what the problems or solutions are, but provide the tools that will actually get you there. And while so many tools right now are just check the box and just say you have them, this is one yourself, your team, your brokerage. If you're not on it yet, you need to be. This is not the last you're going to hear about this. They're going to grow astronomically, and this is something you need to get on board with if you're going to operate, if you're going to be one of those people that really overcomes and is that top producer in your area. You've got to have the right tools in place, and Mosaik is one of those right now. So do yourself a favor. Go check out mosaik.io, mosaik.io. Again, mosaik.io. You won't regret it, guys. Send us questions if you do, but this is one of those ones that you're going to look back on and remember, amazing tool. And we certainly can't have a situation where a non-realtor has an advantage over a realtor just because of the regulations and rules. And my God, guys, we're the United States. It's supposed to be an open and free country. You cannot have a situation where dues-paying members are at a disadvantage to non-dues-paying members. The consumer doesn't know the difference, and the consumer just wants as little friction as possible. How many years now have I been talking about the convenience economy? People make decisions based on convenience. They started working with Uber over taxi because of convenience. But the moment they make you sign a contract to get that Uber, people will go right back to the taxi. Okay? Like, convenience is what it's about. It's got to be about the consumer first. And many of these changes, many of these rules right now are not allowing for that. And so some of the pivots that need to happen aren't just within agents and brokers. They're within the industry and the organizations and the associations that are running these industries and making the rules to make sure that we understand we are in the economy of convenience and that consumers will make decisions based on that convenience and having a lack of friction. They just want to get to what they want. They just want to see the house. They don't want to jump through all of your hoops because we're trying not to be litigated again, trying not to get sued again. So these are questions we need to ask, okay? Other things, by the time you're watching this, there's a giveaway for the advance. We have the advance coming up September 19th and 20th. And I realized we did not do a giveaway. So we're going to give away a few tickets, guys. So if you go to my post, either on Instagram or Facebook or wherever that is, you're going to have some rules you got to follow. You got to comment. You got to make sure you're following. You got to tag someone. You got to like the post. And for extra credit, tell me why we should pick you. And then probably end of the week or the end of this weekend, we'll pick some winners and we'll send you off to Orlando at a time that it's needed more than ever to come to the Jared James Advance, which I think is going to be really exciting for some of you. So by the time you're watching this, get on that. Get your friends on that. Let's get some tickets out to you guys. And even if you don't win the tickets, guys, just get to Orlando. It's so worth it. Number one, it's 100% tax write-off, okay? So you got that going for you. But I'm going to show you how to make money moving forward here and the adjustments that need to be made. And you'll be surrounded by amazing people, and you'll probably have a good time too. I can guarantee you that. You're going to have a good time. It's Orlando, okay? I think I'm going to hang through the weekend. I locked up my cabana for Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's time to get some tan. Some sun. The next day it'll turn into tan.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I burn to tan.
Right.
I've learned my body type, and that's what it does. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
Just like the rules in real estate. I'm not happy about it. What am I going to do?
Listen, no pain, no gain. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, just like the rules in real estate, let's freak out for 5 minutes. Let's get ticked off. But on minute 6, you got to start moving forward towards what's it going to take to win now. Hey, everyone, if you are not signed up for the Jared James Advance, Orlando, Florida, September 19th and 20th, this is your opportunity to do just that, guys. We have released our agenda, and we've got a lot to talk about. I mean, my God, it's almost overwhelming when I look at it, but we're going to do the normal things, right? We're going to talk about how to get listings. We're going to talk about how to take a transaction and multiply it into many others. We're going to talk about very timely things right now, how to eliminate that friction with buyers, and what are we saying, and what are the most common objection handlers right now. We're going to talk about what is the open house of the future look like, because that's a real opportunity. And so how do we take advantage of that? We're going to talk about AI, but in a practical sense, not just to overwhelm you and go, look, the world's changing, robots are taking over, in a practical sense. We're going to talk about team building. We're going to talk about hiring assistants and scaling and all of these kinds of things. And if you're a broker, we'll talk about mergers and acquisitions, culture, retention, all of these things, guys. So I recommend go to jaredjamestoday.com/advance. Check out the agenda that's there. There might even be more things that are added. In fact, I just got a text message that someone else is going to join us that is not on that agenda just yet, so you're going to see that as well. But this is where you want to be, guys. We know there's a lot of changes happening, and this is where you come to be the pro. This is where you come to make sure that regardless of the changes that happen, you are the agent that is standing at the end because you were prepared. When the rules change, they change for everyone. And so what you do moving forward matters, and this is where the best come to get better. So jaredjamestoday.com/advance. And as always, this is our 10-year celebration. So if you don't have tickets yet to the 10-year celebration party on Friday night, the event is the 19th and 20th, but the actual after party, that ticket is separate. That's Friday night, the 20th. We've got a band coming in. We are going to have an absolute blast. Come and celebrate with us. So stay through to Saturday, guys. I cannot wait. Get yourself, your team, your brokerage, your colleagues. Get there, guys. I promise you, you will not regret it. I'm ready, guys. I got pages and pages of notes of stuff I have not released that I am just like, I cannot wait to be delivering there. So will I see you in Orlando? I hope so. See you there. Okay, and that's really, as we finish up our thoughts here, that's kind of my thoughts on the August 17th deadline and everything going on in real estate. Guys, I don't blame you for being frustrated. I don't agree with everything. I don't. You guys need to understand the difference between what I agree with and what I'm telling you is going to happen. I think sometimes people, they're so in their feelings that they think that when I say this is what's happening, here's where it's going. They're like, Jared's turned his back. Guys, I'm not telling you what I want to happen. I'm not telling you what I think should happen. I'm not telling you what I think did happen I agreed with. I'm telling you what I think is actually going to happen. And I have a responsibility to tell you that. So when you hear me say things like broker-to-broker comp is going away on a whole as far as a majority, not because I think it's the right thing, it's because it's the truth, okay? And when that plays out, some of you will trust me more. And for some of you, you're like, I'm not listening to him anymore. I'm not, okay, go pick up your ball and go home. Like, I don't know how that changes anything. I don't know how, whatever. I'm not telling you what I think should happen. I'm telling you what's going to happen. Those are two completely different things. I'm an adult, and I can separate those things. But when we look at these deadlines, guys, it's okay to take 5 minutes, freak out, say your favorite cuss words, hit a wall, do what you got to do. But just understand that does nothing for yourself moving forward. Once we hit minute 6, let's start strategizing. It's time to get back to the chessboard, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Take your 5 minutes, freak out, be a victim, talk about all the people you can't stand, all the people who did you wrong, get red in the face, whatever you got to do. But on minute 6, let's get back to strategizing for the future because that's all that matters. Moving forward, you're going to be a victim. You're going to be a victor. And we don't agree with everything that's happened, but we need to come into agreement for what we think your future needs to look like and what it takes to get there. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, especially as I get into getting ready for the advance and prepping for that. There's plenty of victimhood we can do here. There's plenty of things we can do to make people angry. There's plenty of whatever, but we need to start looking at how do we ensure that people have, good lives. They provide for themselves, their families. They take care of their consumers. What's that look like moving forward? How do we take the rules and regulations into account and not allow them to make us transactional? How do we still remain relational by staying within the guidelines of the rules? And that's where my head is at right now, and I hope that's where a lot of your heads are at as well. That being said, anything else, Tom, that we're not...
I don't think so.
I think that's some important stuff for people to understand right now, but I think that's where we're at. Yeah. Guys, we're doing a lot more on YouTube right now. We created a studio, and for all of you that were talking about my reels and stuff, not going into enough detail, if you just look over the last week, we've put up a bunch of longer form videos where, for example, when we talk about that lawsuit from the NAR members, suing their own organization, NAR, when I talk about, is there a disadvantage to being a realtor now because a non-realtor doesn't have to have a signed agreement before showing the home? When we talk about these kinds of things, it's really easy to, hit the 60 to 90 seconds, the rhythm that you need, to just get to that 60 to 90 and have it flow nice, but it doesn't cover everything. And so one of the things I've been doing is if you're not following on YouTube yet, youtube.com/Jared James today, just like it is with everything, or just go to connectwithjared.com. Click on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed on there, guys. Make sure you have notifications on. That's a big thing, by the way, guys. When we talk about YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, don't just follow. there's a little 3 dot whatever thing. Go and turn on notifications so you actually see what's being posted, okay? But now we're doing, now more than ever, you need to be subscribed on YouTube because I'm going to be doing more live streams there. I've been putting up longer form videos. So, for example, that one where I talked about does it make sense to be a realtor anymore, while it was a 60 to 90 second video in other platforms, it was just short of 10 minutes on YouTube. I did a whole separate video where I broke it down much more in detail. If you want that kind of stuff, go subscribe on YouTube. And free, guys, free. What's that? The time is now. And it's free info, guys, and you need to know what's going on. So I'm committed to that. We're doing more content than ever. With that being said, I'm going to go get ready for the social mastermind this weekend in Vegas. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Give us that 5-star. Send this to someone else that you think will enjoy it. And thanks for inviting me in wherever it is you're listening to me, in the gym, your car, wherever. Shower. I listen to podcasts in the shower. It's not weird.
Well,
I got a little speaker in there, a little waterproof speaker.
you have 2 speakers, actually. So there you have the speaker.
Oh, are you going to say what I think you're saying, like myself and the speaker?
Oh, well, now 3 speakers.
Well, where's the other speaker? What do
You
you?
have the speaker, that's, and then you yourself, and then the person speaking. That's 3.
That's debatable.
That's 3 speakers.
You had me. How is one of the? Oh, you mean like because they're a speaker because they're speaking?
That's 3.
Gotcha.
You're welcome.
Potentially.
That's what is that? 30 seconds? 10 seconds? We won't get back.
10 seconds we won't get
That's
back.
All right.
There you go.
That's all right.
I'm just kidding.
It's valuable.
Somebody shut his mic off. No, I got you. I remember one time I was showering in a hotel, and the name of a lot of the shower heads in the hotels are called Speaker Man, and I was like, is this meant to be? And then I realized that's just about every hotel. Anyway, guys, love you guys. Thanks so much, and say hello on all the platforms you're on, guys. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon.